And hopefully, this time, no hiccups. Alright guys, we are back. Hello everyone, and welcome back to OWL by the Numbers, your one-stop spot for all things Fantasy Overwatch League. I am your host, Totally Drunk, and tonight on episode number 29, we'll recap last week's Fantasy League games, reflect on a week that was as teams look to secure their play-in spots and playoffs, and of course we'll look ahead at some of this week's marquee games, and you know what better way than to follow suit after a very lengthy pause in the Overwatch League with the Dallas Field, then by kind of doing the same thing. Everything is planned out, guys. Absolutely not. But anyways, before we can jump into the agenda, let me just thank everyone who is joining us tonight on Twitch for our live show, as this is the second time we've gone live tonight, and this will be the final time. Fingers crossed. But I do want to thank all of our repeat listeners that are out there. So back with us yet again tonight is Blazin' Bob after the move. As you can tell, he's got some new digs. He's surrounded by all of his nerd stuff. Bob, good to have you back, brother.
Good to be back. Yeah, it's this back wall actually is the entire room. Like, it's not just full there, it's full everywhere. And it's a lot of hanging up, and I didn't really measure, kind of eyeballed it because, looks
puppy in the background. Puppy in the background.
Puppy alert. But yeah, it's gonna be
Bob. There's a dog.
It's gonna be good to get back into like watching Overwatch more intent. It's kind of a bummer that it's almost done. I got to watch a lot of games over the last 2 weeks, but it was all while cleaning, packing, unpacking, moving boxes, driving to and from here in the old place, which is about 35 minutes. And so, yeah, it's been, I've been unintently watching it, but I'm excited to be able to go back and watch these next 2 days.
Well, I mean, you didn't really miss too much from a Dallas perspective outside of Mickey having more playtime than Harry Hook after the technical woes of Sunday.
Oh, I got to watch that completely. Pause. What is it called? Pause game.
Pause game.
Is that what you called it?
Yeah.
That was the best watch point ever, though. It really was.
It was a watch point, like a post-game watch point that wasn't actually post-game for watch point.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was hilarious.
So joining us again this week is my co-host from Heroes Never Die, that being none other than Edinard. Ed, we are winding down the stage. We had Atlanta kind of playing a spoiler in regards to Washington, but Washington has kind of been holding down their own, especially Sansom when it comes to Fantasy OWL. But really, at the end of the day, it was another team who two of us just happened to be donning their jerseys tonight that kind of stood tall when all was said and done, fantasy-wise.
Yeah, fantasy-wise, I mean, you touched on it, Soundtime. He's a fantasy god. He went off. He's our Blake Bortles. He is our Matthew Stafford. Mm-hmm. He is that kicker in fantasy football who throws for a touchdown for some godforsaken reason, and you get the touchdown pass from your kicker. That is Sansan. Mm-hmm. In a nutshell. But being that there was only one map 5 this week, might have been 2, but this was the only one where people actually did anything. The Hanzo Spark put up like the best fantasy numbers for the week due to that, but they still had some decent scores here and there. But overall, this week sucked. For fantasy scores. If you scored about 800 points, you probably did pretty good. Especially the support players this week kind of took a crap. Mm-hmm. And then we'll start talking about that once we get a breakdown into like highs and lows for performers this week. But I have not been able to watch all the matches, so like I kind of watched highlights here and there, saw fantasy scores. So we should be good to go there. I'm excited. WoW Classic comes out in a week, and we have some Overwatch League Network interfighting. Because Spider rolled Alliance. Aren't you Alliance too?
I totally rolled Alliance because I was Horde from Burning Crusade on. But I was Alliance in vanilla because it's only choice to make. Because of one word, Paladin.
What server did you roll on again? Are you on the same server as me
Wipe
and
it,
Totem?
yeah.
Yeah, so basically me and Totem are just going to gang up on Bob.
Oh, dude, we are going to have to like simultaneously queue Battlegrounds. Like, I can't wait for that. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, and Kesha points out in chat, RIP anyone who played a fuel player. Yes, but with a huge but here. 2 of their 4 maps this week did not count on the API.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Uncope scored 48 points, while he only had 2 maps instead of 4 maps, and so on and so forth. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we go into upcoming week point values for players upcoming this week. But yeah, we're gonna destroy Bob. We're gonna make his life a living hell, Paladin or not.
Well, okay, there's a lot of like Overwatch League talent that's playing Alliance on that server, and
It's
then
pretty
the
split.
Lagging Balls crews playing Horde. Like, it's gonna be a neat server to be on.
You're playing Alliance with Bren on White Mane. Good luck with that.
Dude, Brett is a good freaking time, man.
Yeah. See,
I often don't agree with him on anything Overwatch League related,
like,
but
really
boy, having a couple drinks with the man is a good freaking time.
Can we imagine an adverse Bren duel in front of Orgrimmar?
We can.
It's gonna happen. Right after our Widow 1.
Don't at me, bro.
So, but yeah, Totem, how has your week been?
It's been okay. I've been kind of sick the past couple of days, so I'm finally feeling better today. So I basically spent the last 2 days in bed playing Teamfight Tactics a lot. And I will say, like, the first day that I played, I was absolutely god-awful at this game. Second day went a lot better. And I've steadily been improving. I've been getting more victories as opposed to the first day when I just constantly finishing like 7th out of 8th. But fantasy-wise, that was a pretty rough week. I did not have any lineup match what my average was from the past week, which kind of sucks. But that was basically the same case for everyone this past week, because there weren't a lot of situations where people were putting up over 800 points. So that being said, of course, we do have an update on our Listener League and our Host League. So, for starters, our Host League kind of got posted as public, so only Ed and I were able to compete in that one. But we did see another Fantasy Overwatch League podcaster come out on top in our Listener League this past week. So, Bob, why don't you let us know what happened in our Listener League?
Are you talking about Tepojama?
Yes.
Yeah. He won our Listener League, and was it last week or the week before, I was about to win their league, and Heebie-Jeebie came up and beat me by 0.5 points at the very end. I was a little upset about that, so I didn't really want to mention Tepo here. But congratulations, you earned it.
Yeah, Tepo put up 1,000.62 points in their Listener League, running a lineup of Airster, Corey, Sansom, FRD, Guido, and Dogman. So Sansom with the carry with 224.62, which, if I'm not mistaken, was the highest total that we saw in this past week.
Yeah, it was. It was the highest total. Only 2 people scored over 200 points this week, both off tanks. But Santam did it, I think in 4 maps instead of 5, like Rhea did.
Wow, 4 maps, dude. That's pretty good for 4 maps.
Fantasy God.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of people like earn 50 a map, but not like as an average.
And it was the 3-1 match they had against Paris.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like it was a a knuckle, like they weren't fighting tooth and nail to win that one. They just Santam is a fantasy god.
Yeah, we also had Doc Paradox put up 993.21 points, and then rounding out the top 5, we had Jay Kugi, Dolki, and Zenyatta. But in regards to the host for that particular league, it was actually he who shall not be named because he's not here, who actually secured the win between the 4 of us. And he finished in 6th place with 932.1 points. And I completely got screwed by Florida Mayhem. I would have had the win if it was not for them benching Hagopen for map 4, because I was only like 13 points behind him. Feels bad, man. I should have had it.
Well, I got screwed by just not realizing games were on until a half an hour after the broadcast started, and I was like, dang it, I didn't set fantasy again. I did it literally every day because like my mind was so focused on moving and everything, so I wasn't even there, unfortunately.
Yeah, my team it was just one of those underperforming teams. Hotba, who had been playing pretty well, only scored 75 points, and that really hurt me. I think I had the 2 highest scoring support players. I just, and Corey, I think I had the 2nd highest DPS player from the week. It's just my tanks didn't do anything in Hotba and Fury. So, you win some, you lose some. But Ramses does not get the win on this one due to technicalities. This was 1, not the host league. 2, we didn't have all the hosts in it. So you know what? It's like
he still wins. It's just
it's like
there's
you
an
took
asterisk
bronze.
right there.
Yeah, you took bronze in the Olympics, but you get the gold medal because the 1st and 2nd place team got busted for drugs. So you didn't really win.
Well, stop smoking weed, Ed.
Why? That's no fun.
I just want to point out that before Hago got subbed out for that map 4, he was already at 149 points through the first 3 maps. I would have had that hands down. But Ed, you were at like 817, which was kind of middle of the pack in regards to our listener league this week. So definitely a lot to build off of there. But yes, Ansem definitely held it down this week and had one of the better averages between the player base across the board. Now that being said, of course, our listener league will return this Sunday, and just as a reminder, this week is one of the travel weeks, so games are only going to be on Saturday and Sunday this week, so you'll have options between 8 teams for both days. So we are going to do our host league this week. It will return also. I don't know if we're going to do Sunday or if we're going to do Saturday. We'll figure that out, but we will have it back this week. But Ed, I know you and I were pretty close in ours that we did. Unfortunately, we didn't have the other 2 hosts in it, but it was a pretty low score inside for both of us, because I know I only put up 805 points and you were at 790 around there. So not the best scores, but no. hopefully we'll rebound and post better averages this week when there's going to be a little bit more on the line.
There is the problem is, and you even saw this in our listener league, is you're starting to see the same 3 people on every top team. Like if you look at the DPS, everyone had Corey. Really, like everyone had Corey on their team because he's like a low budget. I think it was 16 points, but he is a high performer.
But so you're gonna see that. You're gonna see that.
You're starting to see more and more. Like everyone was playing Corey, everyone was playing Guido, and Ramses took my sleeper pick that I've been raving about in Aid to take 6th place. So you're welcome, Ramses. I gave you this semi-win.
But like that's basically the difference between a daily league and a regular league. A daily league, you're gonna see the people at the top are going to have similar lineups because they were the ones that picked the people that popped off. So you're going to see that regardless. I'm pretty sure like you'll usually see at least 3 of the same players on the top 3 teams,
Yeah. The thing I was getting at though is this upcoming week when you only have 2 days worth of matches, you have the same teams. There's less variety out there. You're just going to see the same lineups Saturday and Sunday type of situations because it's the same dollar amount or same point amounts on Saturday as well as Sundays. Same teams playing. You're not going to see much fluctuation type of thing. Like you're probably going to use the same support players on Saturday as you did Sunday. Maybe flip one person here or there, but you're going to definitely see a lot of that. I mean, you'll probably see it even in the Overwatch League season next year. Because you're going to start seeing basically almost the same thing Saturdays and Sundays, the same teams playing.
And it's interesting because Mel was making a spreadsheet for our recap of all of the homestands next season, and sometimes like there's two homestands each week, but sometimes there's 3 games in a day, sometimes there's 2 games in a day, and there's going to be 2 different broadcasts, and so it's going to be interesting going into fantasy come next season because it's going to be a little wild.
Yeah, it really begs the question of, are we split it up based on a day, or are we gonna kind of like split up the teams? So, because I know like even some days there's like 4 or 5 different matches going on in the same day, so it could get pretty chaotic moving forward. But that's an issue for another time. But if you guys haven't checked out the 2020 Overwatch League schedule, it is up on the website, and we've started to see
21 pages.
Yeah, all 21
it's not the most user friendly. That's why Mel's. That's why Mel decided to make a spreadsheet. I was like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I just want to see this."
That's why I was doing the same
format.
thing. So just as an FYI, when you guys look at the schedule, all the times posted on the schedule are local to the home market, whoever is hosting that city. So there's no time conversions or anything.
So Hanzo is not going to be playing at 2 a.m., so it fits my time perfectly for 4 p.m. Central? This is horseshit.
Right?
Damn you, China. You can't even vote for an MVP because you're not allowed on Twitter.
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be a really good thing because there's going to be Overwatch for everyone to watch. I just don't know how much I'll be keeping up with the Asia scene. I might have to rely on some different podcasts to keep me informed on what's going on over there.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting challenge for all of the content creators, trying to divvy up who is tackling what exactly, or if someone's going to try to cover everything. It's going to be a pretty tall order, especially with how many different start times there are going to be in your local markets. Now, with that being said, of course, we need to take a look back and reflect on the week that was in regards to fantasy performances in Stage 4, week number 4. And Ed, Thursday across the board, I know, like, when we were looking at the team totals, there were a plethora of sub-800 point teams out there. And that was kind of just like a free-for-all, just with the amount of underperformances that we saw on that particular day.
Yeah, I didn't go through. We don't have a full like master list of every score, so I went through like the top scoring teams on like the biggest leagues from Thursday to get these points. So there might be one, but like the top tank of the week on Thursday was Note with 156. That's low for for the best tank. The top DPS was 152. Okay, not great, but more normal than the rest. The top support from Thursday is the one that's insane. And that's 139 points from Bebe.
What?
Was the top support on Thursday, which is insane because usually they're just popping off. Like you usually get like a 200 pointer, but no, 139.47 points was the top support player on Thursday.
Yeah.
So do we know why though? Like, because I didn't get to watch the games as intently, so I don't really know what led to the low.
It's just, well, we didn't have any map 5s.
Less map 5s, and there was a little bit less Moira specific maps this past week as well.
Okay.
And there weren't great matchups. So, like, you had Florida playing Boston. Well, that was a stomp. You had
stomps always suck for points.
Yeah. Hanzo went up against the Fuel. There was 3-1, but that was still kind of a stomp.
Well, that's something that's very different now that you make me think of it. Like, very different from the NFL. If there's a stomp in the NFL, your only scare is that they pull players, but they keep scoring points. Like, at least they do now. It used to be like a gentleman's rule in the NFL that you didn't, but Bill Belichick put an end to all of that. Just keep running up the score now, and every team does it. But that's because there's a time limit. But with the Overwatch League, if there's not good team fights, then the match ends quickly. And if it's like a 2CP and one of the teams full holds first and then takes the 33%, that is a horrible fantasy map right there.
Yeah,
so
you're getting like 14 points.
Yeah.
And you started to see a little bit of that in stage 3, where like the Titan players and the Shock players would not be weren't startable because they were just rolling over people in a lot of their matchups, and they just weren't scoring any fantasy points. So that's basically what happened Thursday. Now the rest of the days kind of saw more normalized, except for the support line. Like, you're going to see a running trend this week with our support. So, like, Friday, tank player. Our number 1 tank player was Rhea. 214 points. Great week. Our number 2, Santam. Fantasy god. But Rhea, the Spark went to 5 maps in a 3-2 versus the Gladiators. So, you know what? Map 5s, you're going to get more points. Dora was our top DPS with 179. Didn't ever think I'd say Dora was the number 1 fantasy DPS option. But then you saw Shaz in a 5-map series, top support 170 points.
And not 200. What the hell, Shaz? You let us down, but he still led the way in that regard.
Exactly. Saturday, you just saw, Saturday, when you look at it, fantasy-wise, you would be like, oh, the top scores would be from the Chengdu Hunters and the Houston Outlaws. They went 3-2. You, my friend, are wrong. So the top tank, top support, top DPS, all from the LA Valiant. Space was the number 1 tank with 181
Wings
points.
out, baby. Wings out.
Kareev was the number 1 support with 170. And Agilities was the number 1 DPS with 165. And the only reason I can say this is they were playing for their playoff lives. Like, they were just being like, we're not going to take our foot off the gas. We're going to do everything the best we can, go full force. And then, Sunday we had Sandsam, like we talked earlier. He had 224 points, real D-bag. Support, 163 points was number 1 with Bedoshin. And then DPS, Saya player went off. Saya player had 197 points this week in a 4-map series. In a 4-0 against the Defiant. 197 points in a 4-0.
Cue a gif of bare hands doing the happy dance.
So it was just a bad week for support players, and I think that's why we saw the bad scores. Was just for that sole purpose. And you said Thursday was not a good Moira map. Moira is what is giving support players all their fantasy points right now. That's why Shaz has been so good, is because he's been playing Moira so much. Abe, that's why he's been doing pretty good. He's been playing Moira a lot. So we just saw a lot less of it this week.
Yeah, so this past week was basically the flex tanks really overtaking the flex supports at this point, because usually those two are neck and neck in regards to the overall score and potential. But, even Gooshway put up some pretty monster numbers in that 5-map series, posting pretty close to 190 points, which for a main tank, you just do not get to see all that often in Fantasy Overwatch League.
Yeah, you get the craziness with Winston in, kind of jumping in, hitting everyone with his Tesla, and then jumping out and being like, haha, I got 5 kills, even though I only did 20 damage to each one of them and jumped out. Like, it's the Moira effect with her balls. He got the damage in, and if they die, he gets credit for the kill, and he gets a point for fantasy kills. You don't see it that often, but when you go to map 5s, more realistic that he does that.
Right, so looking ahead at this week and the player costs, looking at like budget-wise, people that are going to give you some pretty decent value. I will say Atlanta's tank line has still been holding very consistently. FRD this week is sitting at 15 points, so a very good option there. Pokeball actually put up some pretty decent numbers this past week as well. I know he is 13. But Ed, looking back, I know you and I were talking about Persia this past week from Boston Uprising, who was sitting at a cost of 10, and Persia did get the nod. Now, that being said, Boston is kind of a crapshoot right now in regards to how the team has been performing, but Persia, for his cost, actually had a pretty good average per point. So it's still a good option if you're looking for that budget pick for your support line, that we can go out and pick up, one of your 20-plus point DPS or even support players.
Yeah, it's honestly, if you really want to just go baller to the wall on DPS and tank line, you go Persia for 10 points, and then you go Unco for 14. Now, this is a good byproduct of the API being messed up so badly for Dallas last week. Unco's point value is down. So Unco only is 14 points because he sat out that week for, we don't truly know why, but he sat out a week.
I think it was an
eye issue. It was an eye issue. He's been having them a lot, so there's no guarantee that he's going to play this coming week too.
True, but he has played every match since the eye issue. And this past week, he only dropped 38 points, it looks like.
No, anytime he's been out, to my understanding, it's been the eye issue.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so he's been out a few times because of it.
He missed week 3. Week 3. He played both matches in week 4, but week 2 he had almost 200 points, but he only had 30.98 points this week on the match on Sunday, and that's going to drive his point value down because it's based off of what they've scored. Mm-hmm. So if you can get Persia and Unco for 24 points combined, you can just go nuts. Get whoever you want for your DPS and your tank line. But yeah, it's kind of insane. There are some really good values out there. Like you said, FRD is a good one for 15 points. Color Hex is not the worst option in the world. At 13 points, he's definitely one of those DPS players who could really pop off. I'm just trying to quick look to see what he had been doing. So he has 131, 110, 110. But if he dropped 150, would anybody be surprised? Probably not.
Something else to consider is I've been to the 2 home stands prior, the Dallas and the Atlanta one, and the players outperform by quite a bit, and it's due to the crowd and just the electricity that brings and just the adrenaline that the players feel. So even the 14 through 18 point picks on the Valiant and on the Gladiators, you have to think those will be good picks, especially on the day that the Valiant and Gladiators play each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you also got to take into account this is the last week before the playoffs. you're going to see a lot of backups come in. Like you saw
Potential.
Mickey come in and stuff like that. Like let's be real. Vancouver. What do they have to play for? Put in some of their backups that don't get to play all the time for a map or two. Doesn't really affect them at all. And it gets some of their players who have been riding the pine on stage, get them a good, feel good story.
But
something I
the
could see
Valiant and the Gladiators, you have a better chance of them not putting someone in because it's the battle for LA and it's the homestand. Like
I would put in every Valiant
right.
player. I would put in every Valiant player possible because there's only one playoff spot open.
Could they just put them all in and they 6 go and sit down and then the others just gather right behind everybody and just pump them up?
Right? Like, fantasy-wise, if you can start Agilities, Kariv, Space, KSF, would.
Even Gladiators, too, because Gladiators are playing for seed in the play-ins, which doesn't really matter, but they're playing for the pride of the battle for LA. And I've been out to the arena multiple times, and the most exciting it ever is when Gladiators versus Valiant. And I mean, the crowds actually change seats and like sit on either side and they chant at each other. I mean, it's a really cool environment.
All right, I'm throwing this out there. Do you think as a promotional, because it's the Kit Kat Challenge, they get one of the fans from the Valiant side and one of the fans from the Gladiator side, and instead of breaking bread in peace, they break a Kit Kat a piece? Like they come into the aisle and they break.
Like, why don't you work for the Overwatch League, Ed?
Yeah, this is the kind of top-notch stuff that I come up with.
Or like they each take one piece, like one side of a single Kit Kat, and they break it, kind of like a wishbone, and see which one's bigger.
So, what about those inflatable things they all be together? Will they be actual Kit Kats?
Oh, like, that's a good call.
Oh, you mean like a Thundersticks?
Yeah, that's
Kit Kat Thundersticks.
Kit Kat Thundersticks. You should have sent them that idea a few weeks ago, and I bet you Kit Kat could have made it happen.
What is going to be the cheesiest Kit Kat promotional thing to happen?
There's been so much cheese so far. Like, the Valiant have a YouTube channel, and they've got like so many Kit Kat things, like how to make a Kit Kat with this, how to make a s'mores Kit Kat, and it's all like Agility and Kareem. They're pretty funny because Kareem like always throws too much stuff in, and Agility's like, no, stop.
Are they gonna do like promotional, like we're gonna eat Kit Kats make the players eat Kit Kats on stage, and be like,
well, I hope so
Custa,
for the players.
Loves eating Kit Kat.
Does anybody not like Kit Kats? Anybody?
Communists.
So with that being said, of course, there are a couple of teams that, as we've mentioned, like they don't have a lot to play for this week, and that's because they have the top 3 seeds locked in. So that'd be Vancouver, the Shock, and the New York Excelsior. Now, I know this past week, the Shock had basically played everyone. Like, they made a lot of substitutions, more so than we're used to seeing. At one point, we even got to see Rascal switch seats over to the support role in order to play Baptiste. But we got to see a lot of Sinatra, we got to see Architect, and a little bit of Striker even. So I would be very cautious about any of those 3 teams, knowing that it's kind of been a free-for-all here as of late. But, with that homestand environment, I'm really curious to see what the split is going to be, since all 3 of the Cali teams will be there for that weekend, as opposed to, the 2 that we had during the Dallas homestand. So, I don't know if the LA crowd is just going to try to drown out San Francisco, or if, 2 of the other teams are going to get up on the other one. I don't know how it's going to go down. But Ed, I know... you and I were talking last week about Illicit and Fleta, and Fleta actually got the nod this past week, so this looks like that's going to be Seoul's lineup moving forward, so Illicit back on the bench. Fleta seems to be in, but...
I've heard that like 40 different times about Seoul. Like, this looks like what they're going to be going forward.
And then they change it. So
and then they change it.
Do you feel like that's going to change yet again?
Yes. Because I'm playing the odds. Like, I think they have their tank line and their support line set. You're going to have Marble and you're going to have Michelle on the tank line. Safe bets. You're going to have Jae Hong in there and you're going to have Toby in there. The DPS lineup, flip a coin. Like, they'd probably have like a dartboard with the DPS faces on it, and just chuck it and be like, "You're starting today."
Fitz is in. It's just a matter of who's going to play.
Can you guarantee that?
I don't think we can guarantee anything in this stage.
Yes, especially with Seoul. Like, you can't trust. You can trust Seoul as much as you can trust throwing Fat Bastard out of a bar against his will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of good references and analogies today. I decided I got a Fat Bastard, Austin Powers one in there, so my night's complete.
Get in my belly.
Oh, it's like a little
baby. Get in my belly.
Oh, my baby back, baby back, baby back.
I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby. Sorry.
Perfect.
Totem's gonna kill us here.
So
like, I hate both of you so much.
I mean, honestly, like, just play LA players. I mean, that's your safest bet, but you might really win out, like, picking the right dark horse. But I mean, the LA teams are the safest teams to choose.
Yeah, the LA teams, maybe the Atlanta Reign players. The only reason I say that is they're going for a perfect stage.
Yeah, they're going for the top 6 too.
Good call. And they look really good, dude.
Yeah,
really good right now.
So Atlanta players, fine. Boston players, actually probably fine.
It's a mid-tier.
Some of them, yeah, because they don't have anybody else to put in. Like, they don't have backups really to put in.
That's because they've sold them all.
Well, I mean,
Exactly.
RCK is still there, but they haven't played him after like that first week of the stage.
And there's certain spot players, like anyone on the San Francisco Shock support line, safe bet to start. Choyobit, safe bet to start.
Yeah, but what if, like, anybody on San Francisco Shock support line, but what if Rascal switches seats again? You know what I mean?
They'd still be playing for 3 maps.
Yeah. So, LA is your safe bet, especially the LA Valiants. Like, LA Valiant is the one that is, they just need to win one game, they're in the playoffs. So if they don't win versus the Gladiators against the Shock on Sunday, they're going to be going all out. So
yeah, I was talking to their manager today, actually, like, getting credentials set up for media there, and I was trying to, like, get some inside information, but she was not giving anything up.
Did you offer her a Kit Kat?
I didn't think of that. I should have done that.
You should have offered her a Kit Kat. She would have appreciated it.
It's too late now.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's not too late for the Shock to continue to not let off the gas pedal. So here's the thing. The Shock have this mindset of them just wanting to just pounce everything in their path. And I know the Shock face the Titans on Saturday. Now, I know this has no meaning in regards to the Shock moving up or the Titans moving down in regards to the seeding, but do you feel like there's still a good chance for these two teams to continue to build this rivalry even in a game that doesn't have as much on a line as opposed to their prior meetings, which of course were in the prior stage finals?
Oh, go ahead, Bob.
I was just gonna say I would love to think that it's gonna be a good game, but we're so close to the actual playoffs that I don't think the teams that are already in, I don't think they're gonna show much of their real, like we are in like pure sandbagging area right now for the Shock, for the Titans, for Vancouver, or not, yeah, no, for the Shock, for Vancouver, and for New York. Like, I don't think they're gonna show anything. So
Yeah, I was just about to say the exact same thing. Like the Shock versus Titans matchup, you're not going to see anything normal from either one of them because
it's gonna be a scrim.
yeah, if you're a betting person, this is a fantasy podcast, so you are. Um, they're not going to show their hand to the other team because these are the two teams most likely to face off in the finals. Like, let's be real, these are the two odds-on favorites. New York, 100% not an odds-on favorite. But Shock and the Titans are the two favorites.
I wouldn't agree with
Why? Who would be a favorite besides those two?
Well, I wouldn't put the Titans even in the top 2 right now.
Yeah,
who else would be in the top 2?
I would have Atlanta and the Guangzhou Charge as the top 2 teams, with Shock right behind them at number 3.
I would say Shock are the odds-on favorites right now. Charge have probably shown more than Atlanta, but like those two have the biggest upset potential, and they're coming in to the play-in or even the playoffs, depending on how Atlanta does, as the hotter team.
So you have the same top 3, just in a different order.
Yeah.
But
right?
but Atlanta and the Charge have to do the play. They have to play,
which I think is an advantage.
More games played, more chances to lose.
Yes, it's chances to lose, but the advantage of coming in hot, like if you make play-ins, you're coming in hot because you've just won a bunch.
And they're situated on the new patch too.
Yeah,
but
could be it.
I mean, I think.
Although the new patch, though, Ryan Zarya is actually really good on live now, so Vancouver might be like popping up there with Bumper playing his signature Reinhardt. But then again, so could Shock with Super. So it's gonna be exciting.
We also don't know the meta. But like, all right, let's agree this. Titans and the Shock are probably two of the better of the 12 teams in the playoffs. They're probably two of the better teams. Why would they show each other anything?
So
facing off against each other.
Do you feel like they're just going to play the meta then? And just run May Reaper, stuff like that?
Yeah, I can see that. Or maybe, like I said, you could see the Titans bringing backups. You could see the Shock bringing backups. Get them stage time. That way you don't see the traditional starting lineups that they're going to see.
We've seen the Shock bring in backups constantly throughout this entire stage. I mean, they're even successful in switching out their main tanks, which I'm pretty sure no team has been successful with this entire 2 seasons. So, like, Shock is really shock and awing.
I see what you did there. But yeah, we're not going to see anything crazy out of this matchup outside of probably some interesting comps. Do I expect to see at least one map with Symmetra? Yes, I do. Would I be surprised if I saw a Torbjorn or a Bastion? No, I would not. You're going to see some wonky things from this matchup, which is I'm perfectly fine with.
Well, I mean, really, Symmetra, Moira, and Zarya basically get a pretty big buff, and the devs didn't think it was going to be as big as it has been, but like they swore that the pro scene wouldn't change much because of it. But it's the whole tracking thing with beam weapons, and it has proved in the top 500 and GM ladder to definitely matter. So we'll see about it in pro play.
It's the beam, like Symmetra is the one reason, because you've heard a lot of this. Okay, what if we run Orisa Sig? And I'm like, run Symmetra. Like
Worked out well for me.
That is what will counter. You want to run that? Well, I'm gonna bring in somebody who does more damage based on the shields
Yeah, see, I
that
would
you
think
have.
if a pro team pulls it out, I could see Sig Zarya, and it would just be an ungodly amount of damage from the two tanks. Because Sigma, if used right, has some amazing damage.
Yeah, I will say they do. The only thing with that is you have to be a little bit closer up with that duo without the protection of like the Orisa. Like you do have the Sig shield, but you don't have like the Orisa or the Reinhardt shield, and you got to be closer up. That's the only thing I could think of in that situation.
Yeah,
Why
and
it
I
might
mean,
not be run.
it would be map dependent too, but if they do have a Symmetra and say you're on Busan, what's the one that has the walls that come up
The mecha base.
periodic? Yeah.
Mecca, yeah.
So like Rhine Sigma there can just destroy a Symmetra because you just run in on them and you just like Rhine swinging, Sigma's doing all kinds of damage. You got a Reaper in there. I mean, the Symmetra has no time, but in something more open, Symmetra can really get use out of those shields.
Mhm.
So
I do believe that this will be the last week of the Reaper main meta.
don't say it. Don't kill my Reaper.
All right, all right.
I love
First
my
off,
Reaper.
Reaper is not
Die.
Yeah, die into an ice wall that the other may put up. That's
Or
like 90% of Reaper ults. Die into a mate wall.
Hey man, back off my character I have 200 plus hours in because I didn't understand the game for the first 4 seasons.
that explains why you played Reaper.
Well, I got to almost diamond as Reaper in the Beyblade meta. Was that like season 2 or season 3?
God, that's certain.
That was the first time I got close to it was season 3 because I did hit diamond on a different account season 3, but basically playing mostly soldier. But I mean, Reaper was pretty good then.
What matchup do you think will be more interesting to watch? Vancouver, Shock, Gladiators, Valiant.
I mean,
Dude,
Battlefield
Gladiators Valiant
LA
is I mean, and the crowd's gonna be crazy, and you're gonna get the pans of the crowds because I will say the homestands, both of them, most of the games besides the ones that had the home team were kind of meh. But like here, the Gladiators play twice, right?
Yeah.
And they play each other once.
Gladiators only play once.
See, that's a bummer because at the 2 home stands, the 2 Atlanta games and the two Dallas games were just off the hook. I mean, we're talking like an NFL stadium going crazy. Like it was electric. But like the other ones, like there'd be half the people in their seats. People would be trying to run around and get autographs from other people. But yeah, like the 2 games you want to watch are definitely the 2 Valiant matches. Like those games are going to be on fire. And they're going to have like special pyrotechnics and stuff during those. They'll like Atlanta revealed their like intro with the Phoenix, and there's just a lot more hoopla during the home teams games.
So getting back to our pick'ems, looking at Saturday, we do have the Shock versus the Titans. So despite all the shenanigery that might ensue, maybe some backup seeing some playtime, maybe even seeing Tizzy, who knows? At this point with the Titans, based on bumper struggles on Orisa, who are you guys given the nod to in that particular series? Who will take it?
I mean, I think the Shock's going to take it because Vancouver hasn't shown me they truly understand this meta, and I do think they have a really good game when they play their own game, and they have Gensal or Hakchi, out there, but like I think they're going to try to play the meta, and they're not going to do it as good as San Francisco. So I'm giving the nod to San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm giving the nod to San Francisco as well, but I would not be surprised if Vancouver won, because one thing that Vancouver has done in the past 2 weeks, they took out Hureg, and they put Stitch in kind of full time. So Stitch has definitely kind of proven to be a better, more consistent DPS player alongside Haxel and his
Ohana means family.
god tier Genji.
Ohana means family. Have you not watched Lilo and Stitch?
Not in a couple of years.
Oh, but it's so good. I just remember it.
I'm just waiting for Disney to do the live action remake.
Oh yeah, dude! I've loved all those, dude.
Really,
hey, stop!
It's gonna happen.
Stop!
Well,
we're going off topic again.
That's 90% of our show.
There's been too many fake images, and we haven't seen anything concrete with that, in particular. But moving on, we do have the Battle for LA, and as we mentioned, for the Valiant, they are looking to make their way into the play-in tournament. So they either need to pick up a win against the LA Gladiators on Saturday, or they need to defeat the San Francisco Shock on Sunday. And if they don't get a win this week, well, that means that the Chengdu Hunters will be in the play-in tournament. And of course, outside of that, Atlanta's also trying to make their way into the top 6. So, Ed, this one's a very interesting situation because, for one, you don't want to put yourselves into a position, if you're the Valiant, where you only prepare for one game. You don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket, but there have been some more inconsistencies with the Gladiators as opposed to the Shock, who, as I mentioned, the Shock have just kind of been putting their boot down across the enemy team's throat. This is not a team that likes to give in at all, so it's definitely the harder of the two matches, and I think if you're the Valiant, you're going to want to approach that Battle for LA as your best opportunity to move forward, and I think the Valiant will beat the Gladiators in that particular series. We talk about the level up factor with the homestands, and the Valiant have been a very streaky team, and the Gladiators DPS duo either pop off or they just kind of fizzle out. And we haven't seen that sort of inconsistency from the Valiant so far this stage. I feel like KSF will really be the one to put this team on the forefront in this series, and I'm going to give the nod to the Valiant. Bob, what are you thinking for this one? Who do you got?
There's been 4 home matches this season so far. Home teams are undefeated. I think these teams are very close. So home field advantage, I am going to give it to the LA Valiant, even though there will probably be a lot more Gladiator fans there than there were Houston fans at Dallas. It was about a 80-20 split, maybe 85-15. But I really think that Valiant's going to do it. But we'll have to see. There's never been an arena this size in LA, so I don't really know which fan base is actually bigger. So if there's more Gladiators fans there, Gladiators might take it, but it's gonna be raucous.
I'm going 100% in the camp of that the Gladiators have no shot. My reason is they have not looked good. They've taken 4 games to 5 maps against
Dallas. Won 2 games against them.
Yeah,
Dallas has looked bad.
Yeah, against the likes of Dallas. So the Spark, Dallas, the Hunters, and the Shock. Then they lost to Houston Outlaws. They have 2 wins this stage.
Yeah, they're definitely looking shaky.
They are not the team everyone thought they would be.
Well, I think they're suffering from the same thing Shanghai is, where when they could use the 3D, they were the ones that first started that in Season 1 of the Overwatch League. They were looking really good, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm thinking the Valiant are going to come out on fire and win this 3-1. And they're going to clinch that spot, and the Hunters are they're going to be, and then I also want this because of the meme ability of when the Hunters don't make the playoffs, and then you see a bunch of sad pandas. So I really just want that to happen, because who doesn't love a good sad panda from South Park?
Mm-hmm. So moving on to Sunday, we have the 3rd seed of the New York Excelsior going up against the top seed of the Vancouver Titans. So this is another matchup that, there was a little bit of a concern kind of going into this, like the second half of the season. Like maybe we wouldn't actually get to see this until the very last day of the regular season, but we did see these two teams face off prior to this. And, New York has definitely had their fair share of issues, and Titans... I don't think they've played up to the current meta, but they're still trying to get their feet underneath them, but they've looked a lot less shaky compared to New York. So, Bob, who are you feeling in this one? Do you feel like the Titans are to come out and pick up a little bit of momentum after that shock series, which is going to be a tougher test for them?
I have no clue. With what New York has done, really, the last 2 stages, well, no, we'll start with the stage 3 playoffs to now. For all I know, Pine and Flower are going to come out on tank, and Sabiomi is going to come out on healer. Like, I have no idea what this team's going to do, so I've got to give it to Vancouver.
I don't see New York. Like, I'll just keep it very simple. New York looks like trash right now. They're a bottom 6 team from what we've seen in stage 4 so far. So I don't feel this is even close in regards to the Titans winning. Like, Titans will dominate this one. 4-0 or 3-1.
And then that would lead into our second Valiant game this weekend between the San Francisco Shock and the LA Valiant. So, Bob, I want to get your thoughts on this. Let's say the Valiant lose against the Gladiators and we move into must-win situation in this series. Would that change the way that you're going to approach what you're expecting the outcome of this match to be?
Honestly, I think if Valiant wins against the Gladiators, the crowd is energetic second day, and they beat Shock. If the Valiant loses to Gladiators, I could definitely see them, like, the crowd not being as in it, and all of a sudden they just have nothing, and there's too much nerves, because, like, if they win against Gladiators, nerves are going to be down, hype is going to be up, morale is going to be through the roof, and San Francisco doesn't exactly care as much and doesn't really want to show too many, like, cards. So honestly, I think if the Valiant win the first day, they win this game. If the Valiant lose the first day, they lose this game.
Yeah, I have a feeling they'll end up going 1-1 this week. I'm not expecting them to beat the Shock, just because after we expect them to beat the Gladiators, at that point, you're in. You got your 12 seed. You're locked in. At that point, basically all of the top 12 are secured at that point, and at that point, you're really just playing for fun. But either way, I'm expecting a pretty good series. And, maybe we'll get a little bit of a Team USA rivalry with Sinatra and KSF, potentially. But I would expect the Shock to still come out on top in this particular series, regardless of whatever substitutions that we are going to be seeing from them in particular. But I would not be surprised to see Resto coming out on the Baptiste for at least a map or two in this particular series. But definitely a storybook way to end the regular season for the Valiant, having your playoff hopes living and dying in LA.
To live and die in LA. Is that how that song goes?
Probably not.
It's Tupac.
Well, I guarantee you Tupac did not sing it like that.
Well, no, but it was a girl singing background, and then he'd come in and rap, and then she'd say to live and die in LA. But it definitely sounded off. I haven't heard the song in a long time.
Why are we not more up to date with our Tupac on this show? Damn it.
Dude, rap died with Tupac. Sorry,
that's a
sorry,
discussion for a whole different time.
Sorry to say, guys, but rap went to like Tupac. May he rest in peace.
So with that being said, of course, guys, tune in on Saturday and Sunday. Make sure you sign up for our Listener League on Sunday. But with that being said, we are going to go ahead and close out the show for tonight. So if you guys want to help us out, one of the best things to do is to go leave us a review over on iTunes or your podcasting app of choice. Obviously, we would prefer iTunes because that is the go-to. That one has the most visibility out there between the podcatchers. So any sort
Have we... Sorry, I thought you were done. Have we not gotten one in a while?
It's been kind of slow for iTunes.
I haven't even gotten a complaint yet on this show.
Oh, yeah.
On this show.
See, now that he says something, someone's gonna say something.
Yeah, I'm okay with this.
But anyways, any sort of feedback or constructive criticism is always welcomed, just because that will offer us insight on how we can improve the show. If you would like to find additional Overwatch-related content, be sure to check out Overwatch Recall, where you can find a list of Overwatch, Overwatch League, Path to Pro, and another Fantasy Overwatch League podcast, because there's only 2.
Is there just 2?
Yeah, it's basically
just
us and
Foul Play.
Like, I know the Game House has one that's more like they go into odds, but I don't think they're
okay. Well, the Game House, I can never find any of their shows. Is it just on Twitch? Because I can't find their shows on iTunes.
They're primarily on Twitch.
And they basically just do the gambling, like the over-unders.
Right.
See, the one time I saw them, because I follow them on Twitch, but the one time I saw them, I clicked on it thinking I was going to hear about Overwatch, but instead it was like a transgender show talking about transgender stuff. And it was actually really interesting. I stayed for a while because I was like, what is going on? But
yeah, they did something for Pride Month. In that regard. But anyways,
maybe that was it.
Yeah, we do have our podcast directory, Overwatch Recall, which you can find on our website, and then every Sunday, occasionally on Monday, we do the Weekly Recall, which has a listen of all the podcast episodes, so stay up to date with the latest on Twitter at OW Recall. Now, if you guys would like to support our podcast network, you can do so a couple of different ways. We do have our Patreon at patreon.com/OWL Network. We have tiers starting there at just $1 a month. So you too could join the likes of our Master and Above patrons, Blazabob, Brennan, Josabal, Owl, and Kesha in helping our network grow. And, of course, we stream regularly on Twitch, so any sort of Twitch Prime subs or normal Twitch subs are greatly appreciated. But Edinar, why don't you go ahead and let our listeners know how they can contact our show?
All right, so you can reach us through email at contact@owlshow.com. We are on Twitter, so you can reach us over there at OWL by the numbers. We do have an awesome website that has been Totem and Spider have put work into at owlshow.com, so go check that out. We do have a YouTube, and that's youtube.com/Overwatch League Network. We are on Discord, so come join us over there. Chit-chat with us at discord.me/OWLNshow. And like Totem said, we do stream pretty regularly on twitch.tv/OWLNshow. So we are Twitch affiliate, so come help support the show by subscribing to our channel with all those awesome Amazon Prime memberships that everyone has. And we do stream regularly.
So, pop it off, dude.
Yeah. Amazon Prime, dude. Overwatch League Network airs Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. This show, OWL by the Numbers, airs Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific. Heroes Never Die, the variety Overwatch show Totem and myself do, is Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. And then host streams, when available, run on a flex schedule, so be sure to follow us on Twitch and all that fun jazz. We do have the Patreon over at patreon.com/OWL Network, so if you want to help us further, definitely head over there. We all know what time it is. It's question time.
Oh, boy.
And I'm giving credit to Scott Johnson for this one.
Oh, Scott Johnson, The Instance, the first podcast I ever listened to.
Yes, he
God
asked a
bless his
question
soul.
on Twitter today, and it got me thinking. if a tomato is technically a fruit, does that make ketchup a smoothie? I mean, technically it would
makes
be.
I
it,
mean,
it
you
makes
can
it more
put
of
ice.
a jam, doesn't it?
Okay,
Or
okay,
more
hold
of a
on.
jelly.
If you basically just put, like, yogurt with anything and ice, it can technically be a smoothie.
Yeah, there's no yogurt, so it makes it more of a jelly, right?
Would it be a jelly? I think it would.
Like at least closer to that, like the jelly that you have in the little squirt bottle that you squirt out.
Yeah. So ketchup is technically a jelly, confirmed on OWL by the numbers.
We're
Or
here to
off
answer
topic.
the tough questions.
Yes. Hey, at least we're not singing baby back ribs still.
Well, muffin,
Chili. Baby back
chili.
ribs. So you can reach
Baby
me and tell me to
back
shut
rib.
up on Twitter at NR Overwatch. Blazing Bob, where can they find you at?
You can find me. Actually, I don't usually plug this, but I'm going to do it because we are 5 subscribers from 1,000 on our YouTube channel. Please check it out and give us a sub at youtube.com/owlrecap. We are so close. Help us
get to
out.
999 and then nobody sub for a while just to annoy
Dude,
the hell out of
It's
them.
been like, okay, for the last week, it's jumped up to 998 and then dropped down to 994. And then now it's at 995. And I'm just like, stop it subbing. But,
Like, I'm
yeah.
gonna sub and then unsub the next
Like,
morning, and then
daily.
sub and then unsub the next
You
morning, just
son
to spite
of
you.
But you can also find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. Where can we find you, Totem?
Well, I'm also on Twitter at TotallyDrunkCTR, and he who shall not be named is also on Twitter at
Yeah, we don't care about him.
Ramses_OW. So, you can go give him flag for missing 2 shows in a row. But with that
But he's
being
at
said,
Disney
guys,
World.
yeah, I mean, he's
I give him credit. He's at Disney World.
the better question, Ed, is he going to bring us anything at BlizzCon?
Well, if he doesn't, he's dead to me.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
the better question. Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck. Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck.
Like, all right, so Star Wars World isn't open there yet. So did he go to Harry Potter World? That's the real question.
I thought it was opening earlier in Disney World.
August 29th, Star Wars World opens at Disney
Also,
World.
he just
Wait,
missed
Harry Potter World's not there. It's at.
It's at Universal, which is like a 10 minute cab ride.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really 5 or 10 minutes?
It's real close.
Man,
it's
I
5-10
freaking
minutes
lived
off.
in LA for over a year, and I still
It's
don't know where
5-10 minutes
anything's
from the
at.
Disney property, or the compound, as I call it, at Disney World.
And if you want to plan your Disney trips, be sure to talk to Edgar.
Land. World is in Florida.
Yeah, World is in Florida.
He is in Florida.
He's in
Sorry,
Florida.
my bad. My bad.
Yes.
My bad.
Yes, if you ever need questions on Disney World, talk to me. I 100% had dinner in Cinderella's castle.
Sorry, dude. You do not win this. Like, my family, almost every family vacation we took when I was a kid was Disney World. I literally went there 8 times before reaching the age of 18. And then I've been there 3 times on my own dime, one of the times being my honeymoon. So I don't think you have me here.
Have you been to we're going off topic. Have you been there for the Food and Wine Festival?
Yes.
'Cause I want to go for the Food
in
and Wine.
October, right?
It's October, into November.
Yeah,
and it just
and it's
sounds
like
a bunch of adults getting drunk at Epcot.
Dude,
and it
and
sounds
they
amazing.
literally kick the kids out at I think it's 9, and then you get it till 1 a.m. at Epcot. And I mean, it was we did it by accident the first time we went. Me and Melissa, when we first got together, and it was amazing. It just and there was no lines. It was cool. there was a little bit of rain here and there, but like it was definitely a good experience. So if you can get out there during, I mean, it's Oktoberfest too, during that time.
All right, Totem, you can close this out now because I can tell he's like.
You could probably, you could probably cut this from the
this
audio
is getting
version.
cut out of the podcast. I guarantee it.
Absolutely. But anyways, guys, that will do it for us here tonight on OWL by the Numbers, episode 29. I've been your host, Totally Drunk, joined this week by Blaze Bob and Edinar, and we hope to see you guys back tomorrow night for our next episode of Heroes Never Die. Take care and have a good night.
Rip Ramses.